Hello everyone, this is Preheat. Welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. Today we're going to be discussing Fire Mage in 10.1.5 Fractures in Time. So if you haven't already heard the news, Blizzard is reworking Fire Mage in 10.1.5 and it is looking to be very strong. We actually have the ability now to playtest it since it's available on the PTR. So I'm going to read you off some of the changes that I've noticed, some of the bigger things, and then kind of give you my first impressions on this since I've been able to play it for a while on PTR. So to start things off, we do have the post from Blizzard, and there's a lot of notes in here, right? We've got a lot of changes that they're making, but I'm just going to give you a quick summary here. So number one is we don't have Rune of Power anymore. It's gone, right? So we don't play with that talent anymore. Now we're just using Incanter's Flow full time. You'll notice it's also moved up here above where it used to be. In the middle area, they've also moved up the shifting power capstone to give us more flexibility down here in the capstone layer, which is great. We have some new talents in here. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Another thing too, you'll probably notice right away is that Cauterize is no longer on the tree, and they have not removed it. You actually have Cauterize baseline now as a Fire Mage, which is kind of sick. I mean, this is something we've asked for a long time, and having Cauterize kind of compete with DPS talents didn't really feel too good. So now Cauterize is just a baseline Fire Mage thing. We also have Flame Strike baseline, so we don't have to put a talent anymore into Flame Strike to pick that thing up, which is great. You'll also notice that there are some new talents in here that took the places of some of those older talents. So we have Surging Blaze, which is just a cast time reduction on our Flame Strike and Pyroblast, and then damage increase. This is the kind of talent that you just never spec out of. You're just always going to take this talent. And then we also have this new one right here, Intensifying Flame. So this is basically a talent for below 3 targets to have 15% more Ignite damage. I think the idea that they're going for here is they're trying to balance Ignite a little bit better so that it isn't just really overpowered in AoE, right? Maybe if they bring it down and then give you this talent option, then it's still getting single target while also being reasonable in AoE. Another part of that is also Master Flame. So they actually changed it so that now Ignite is going to spread to 2 additional nearby allies. But keep in mind, right now in the PTR, it seems that Ignite is still spreading from Phoenix Flame. Not sure if that's intended, but that's the way it's working right now. They also kind of reworked how the capstone area looks. So if you notice, Hyperthermia has shifted positions. We also have some buffs here to the meteor talents. We have a new one here with Deep Impact. Not going to talk about these too much because I don't really know if we're going to be venturing off into this area. For me right now, I've been really enjoying playing Kindling with Fiery Rush, Hyperthermia, and a new talent that actually takes the place of SKB. So if you notice, we no longer have just the one talent here. We have SKB, which is kind of a lumped together Pyroclasm plus SKB combo. You have a longer period, so if there's a little bit more downtime, you'll still be able to hold that SKB, and the SKB has Pyroclasm baked into it. I'm still not really a fan of hardcasting SKB, so I'm going to try to avoid this talent. But I will say that no matter how you look at it, this is easier and better than SKB was, right? But the new talent is the one I'm more excited for, Unleashed Inferno. Now, we don't know exactly which one of these will be better, and they both kind of do the same thing by giving you combustion uptime. But this talent is just absolutely insane. It says, while combustion is active, your spells have a 40% increased damage and reduce the cooldown of combustion by 2.5 seconds. That's going to be stacking with the kindling bonus as well. So basically, while you're in your combustion, you're getting 3.5 seconds off of your cast every single time you press one of these buttons: Pyroblast, Fireblast, Scorch, Phoenix Flames, right? So basically, this talent seems very strong. I mean, in my playtesting, I know it's a little feely craft, but I've definitely been enjoying this one a lot more than SKB. And one thing I really like about it is it actually kind of pairs well with Time Anomaly. So one of the biggest pain points I still have with this new talent tree is just the fact that Temporal Warp is still not its own button, right? So like if you're not lusting the pull, then it just feels really bad to play this talent. But Time Anomaly is one of those talents where it's like, it's kind of close. The fact that it's RNG is kind of a mark against it. But with this new Unleashed Inferno talent, and because we're not really hard casting anymore for playing this talent, I think it's much more reasonable to play Time Anomaly, right? Because if you get those combustion procs, you're going to be able to actually make use of them, and you're going to get a huge amount of value from them because during combustion, you're going to be able to get your combustion off cooldown much faster. I've actually done playtesting with both Time Anomaly and Temporal Warp, and both feel pretty good. So I could definitely see myself actually playing Time Anomaly with this change. But of course, if you want to stick to how things are right now, you can just spec back into Sun King's Blessing. I don't think really much is going to be changing here for you, aside from it's just better now, right? Because you have longer to cast it, and it's going to always give you that 300% increased damage on your Pyro Blast hardcast, which is great. Obviously, we still have some other weird talents. So From the Ashes still exists, and it's still an incentive to not press a button, which is kind of weird to me. I'm not really sure why this talent is the way it is. But, you know, either way, at least you can just play Alexstrasza's Fury for the time being with the new tier bonus. Also, Call the Sun King now increases your Phoenix Flame damage, which is kind of interesting. And then we have a bunch of other little small things. There is one last point, though, I want to talk about here. So, obviously, I mentioned before, Flame Strike is now a baseline ability. This is a button we haven't even really played this expansion so far, but that could be changing very easily here. So we have this new talent, Fuel to Fire. This makes it so that Flame Strike has a chance equal to your critical strike chance to build a heating up and then subsequently a hot streak if you already have a heating up. One thing that's kind of cool about this talent is it actually works from hard casting Flame Strike. So if you're hard casting your Flame Strike, you actually have the ability to generate hot streaks from that. What a world we live in. Generating hot streaks from hard casting your Flame Strike. I mean, that's crazy, right? But yeah, I mean, so if you want to go kind of an AoE build for Mythic Plus and actually incorporate Flame Strike, the biggest thing I see as a problem still with this idea is just that you have to give up a lot of single target to be able to run, you know, Fuel to Fire, because you're also going to want to run Flame Patch, obviously. And you may even want to run another AoE talent like Incendiary Eruptions or something like that. So I'm just not really sure how exactly we can fit all these talents into the tree. I think it's probably still going to be a toss-up between doing Ignite stuff versus doing Flame Strike stuff, but at least now we have better options, and hopefully they can tune around these as well. Also, I don't really know why Living Bomb is still here and it's still so bad. I mean, this is a 30-second cooldown. It does get some cooldown reduction here with this talent. Each time it explodes, it gives you 2 seconds off, but the damage on this thing is just way too low. If they want to make Living Bomb a thing, they need to actually buff this talent a lot, because it just doesn't really seem like something I would ever really pick up unless I'm just fighting a million different mobs. And then a couple other things. So we also have a new Mass Barrier talent. So this basically just gives a barrier to everyone around you. If you press this talent, one of them went on this mage, one of them went on one of the target dummies, right? And they actually get the benefits of your shield too. So if you're playing like Arcane, for instance, the magic damage reduction you get from your barrier would apply to them, which is kind of neat. We also have Mass Invisibility, which used to be a PvP talent. Now we actually have access to this for PvE. And there's another talent I want to talk about here, and this one's a little weird. So Ice Cold changes how your Ice Block functions. It basically makes it so that instead of being an immunity that clears debuffs, this is now just a very, very strong damage reduction. And it's also going to make it so that you don't have to press it on a global cooldown. It's off the GCD. And it gives you the ability to move around and to keep attacking during it. So I think the Ice Block is probably still going to be the talent that we would want in most scenarios, right? If we're ever removing a debuff or we need just like a hard immunity. However, Ice Cold makes it so that now if we're ever doing a fight where we need to be able to put out a whole bunch of damage while we're taking a whole bunch of damage, we actually have the ability to survive that while DPSing, right? So the example I think of immediately is like Lords of Dread, right? If we had this talent for Lords of Dread, we would have definitely ran it. Obviously, the biggest downside here, though, is if you have loss of control, right? Ice Block breaks you out of that, whereas this talent is not going to do it. So if you're stuck in a stun or some other loss of control, you're not going to be able to get out of it if you're playing Shimmer, obviously, with the stun. You're not going to be able to get out of this talent if you have the Ice Cold talent here. So I'm still over here like, why not just add Ice Block to being off the GCD? I appreciate it. Like, I like that we have the option. But I just feel like Ice Block should be off the GCD at this point. But anyways, yeah, so overall, my impressions of these talents are very good initially. I think Fire Mage is going to be really strong with these too. I mean, we're talking about a class that has Execute. It's got a built-in cheat death. It's got really strong cleave, right? It's got the ability to basically damage on the move, removing Rune of Power, making Cauterize baseline with Flame Strike, no longer having to run SKB. These are all fantastic things. You know, I really hope that Unleashed Inferno ends up being a strong talent so we can actually use this over SKB. But let me know what you think. So are you looking forward to Rune of Power being removed? Are you looking forward to an alternative to SKB? How are you feeling about this Fire Mage rework so far? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and hopefully I see ya in the next one.